You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Excited because we just went through so many great community questions yesterday. Wellness, weight loss, anti-aging, and as I like to say, everything in between. Anything's fair game, honestly. I'm happy to give you my best, to give you the answer that I've either seen from case studies in my own practice, from working in this health and fitness field for so long, or at least give you a lot of the research that's out there right now that you can draw upon, that you begin to add into your life. And today is obviously going to be no different. Very happy to be able to reach out as best as I can to people all over the world and answer these questions on the weekend. So I do hope you're tuning in each and every weekend. Sometimes I like to give fun little pop-up announcements like today. Anybody that emails in, today's the last day, so anybody that wants to email support@equilibriumnutrition.com, after reviewing the Cabral Concept on iTunes today, we are going to give you just literally free $10 towards equilibriumnutrition.com. Use it for whatever you'd like. Simply going to iTunes and reviewing the Cabral Concept. If you want to go to today's show notes page, it's right on today's show notes page at stephencabral.com/1003, I believe is today's show notes. Yes, it is. Yesterday was 1002. So if you go to stephencabral.com/1003, we're happy to take care of that. So here's the big thing, though, and this is what I want to go over, is that, for me, when I do little pop-up offers, it's just, I want to thank you and support you for a lot of what you've done for me, really, over these past 3 years with building up the Cabral Concept. And at the same time, if you're able to review the Cabral Concept, then it allows me to go higher in the rankings in iTunes. And what that allows me to then is to reach more people on a daily basis. This is a completely free podcast, and I want to keep it that way forever. And so just those reviews are so helpful, and I read every single one, and it just energizes me literally when I read them all, and I really do appreciate it. So if you wouldn't mind going to iTunes and leaving a review, my goal is with our 1,000th episode to hit 1,000 reviews, and I would love for you to make that happen with me if possible. Again, it's totally your choice. And the last part is you can just email support@equilibriumnutrition.com, today's Sunday being the last day, November 4th. And we're happy to pass along a promo code for you to save $10 on your next order at equilibriumnutrition.com. So thank you so much in advance. And let's get in with our first question, which is from Eliana, or Eliana. Yeah, I think it's Eliana. So it's Eliana. Hello. I would first like to say I absolutely love your podcasts and everything you have taught me this far. I'm a 21-year-old personal trainer who's extremely interested in natural health. That has changed my world. I've been struggling with a hiatal hernia for years. It feels like something is pressed up against my diaphragm or something in my left rib cage. It switches between those two places sometimes, and I wonder if my diaphragm is out of place rather than being a hiatal hernia. I've received chiropractic treatment for this, and while the manual adjustment or pushing it back into place does help, it does not last. My mom, grandma, and twin sister also struggle with this. And I'm not going to read the whole question, but everybody can read the whole question by simply going to stephencabral.com/1003. So she goes on to say, I take zinc and B12 and D3. I'm a pescatarian, and I basically do no gluten, dairy, corn, and no processed foods. Don't eat it late at night. Just wondering what you suggest regarding hiatal hernias. Okay, I don't want to talk hypotheticals. I don't like hypotheticals in my practice. So what I do is I want to give you exactly what you need. And so this to me is when you want to actually look to conventional medicine. And you don't need to use the pharmaceutical drugs that they might prescribe. But why not go to a GI specialist, have an endoscopy, just looking with a little camera, to see if you have a hiatal hernia. If you don't have a hiatal hernia, cross that right off the list. If we're talking about some type of alignment issue or tension on the diaphragm, then we can absolutely help you with that to a much easier degree as well. So a lot of people, it's strange, but this thing called the sympathetic nervous system, when it gets us into fight or flight, or it makes us a little bit more stressed, it can tense us up. And for a lot of people, they end up only breathing with the upper lobes of the lungs. They don't get the lower lobe of the lungs as oxygenated as they can. And this can cause more tightening of the upper thoracic area, which are if you think about it, it's the middle vertebrae in your back, and then the lower vertebrae would be your lumbar. And it can also cause tension through the vagal nerve, which can cause tension on the diaphragm. This can be worked on with breathing specialists as well. I did a great podcast with Dr. Belisa that I would love for you to listen to. So literally just go to stephencabral.com/podcast and just type in breathe or breathing or Dr. Belisa, and you'll be able to find that podcast. And we teach people how to relax the sympathetic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. And we teach them how to get into those lower lobes of the lungs. You'll be able to do some reflex. Well, you can certainly do some reflexology, but I was thinking more from the perspective of acupressure and acupuncture. And one other thing that I would like to add as well is, being a personal trainer, is making sure that the psoas is relaxed, palpated, and not all tense as well, because that connects towards the lower thoracic and upper lumbar vertebrae as well. That can affect the diaphragm. So that's a place to get started. That's exactly what I would recommend. And then, of course, you can use natural anti-inflammatories right now, such as omega-3s, maybe some magnesium to relax that system, the full spectrum magnesium, and even some Adrenal Soothe 2 capsules at dinner to relax. All right, Chrissy's up next. Good morning. Sorry for the long post, but I'm hoping you can help. My mom started with diverticulosis in 2007, and in 2012 it became moderate diverticulitis. It got continually worse, and she had to have a bowel resection done. They removed a foot of her colon. Ever since then, she's dealt with horrible gas and constipation. She has had endoscopy done a few weeks because she felt like things weren't passing through, and the doctor said it was red and inflamed, but she does not have H. pylori. She has gastroparesis. The doctor then put her on Zantac. She also takes the digestive boost. I'm not sure what that is. Okay, so yeah, I'm happy to help you with this. So when your GI specialist looks for H. pylori, that's only one of the 4 that we look for. We need to do a stool test with your mom, an organic acids test with your mom, and then ideally we do a food sensitivity. Those are the 3 for the guts. Now, if she wanted to leave off one, I would leave off the food sensitivity because we can give her a nice elimination-based diet that we have instead. So that will cause the fermenting, the bloating, the gas if she has any one of those things. But I can also tell you this, that being on Zantac or being on some type of acid blocker, acid reducer, proton pump inhibitor is not going to allow you to break down a lot of the foods that you need to, which you're going to become vitamin and mineral deficient eventually. Very, very important. So that's where I recommend to get started. I'm sorry that your mom had to have the bowel resection done, which is that removal of part of the colon. And again, the colon is not extra. It's not extra organ. We need that colon. It's used to manufacture vitamins. It's used to absorb things. It's used to create short-chain fatty acids. But what we need to do is do the best that we can for your mom right now. So what I'd like to do is actually find out, what does your mom need? Does she need to remove the excess candida or SIBO or parasites? And I'd like to be able to see if we can help her with that. Okay, next up is Laura. Couple questions, she writes. I've only been listening for around a month or so I might have just missed this. I haven't heard Dr. Cabral talk much about beans and legumes. Is there a reason why they aren't recommended or not at the top of his list? I'm primarily vegetarian and vegan. However, I do add lentils. Okay, so Laura, that just means you're new to the show. That's all. We've done 1,000 podcasts, and you know that I'm a huge advocate of plant-based proteins. So I talk about split mung beans all the time, called dal, used in khichdi. I talk about black bean soup. I talk about legumes. I also talk about it from a digestibility standpoint, that a lot of people with candida and bacterial overgrowth can't digest them, so they need to first remove the excess bacteria, remove the excess candida, then they can digest them. So just go back and you're going to check out previous podcasts and you'll get all that information for sure. All right. Also, I'm going to start a naturopath nutritional therapy course in the UK. So maybe I can find this out for myself. However, I take nutritional supplements, and I used to be really brought into juicing detoxing. However, I've read various things that suggest a supplement can actually shorten your life and aren't as good as they seem. Okay, so I've answered all these previously before. If you're taking folic acid and you have the MTHFR gene mutation for that, can become toxic in your system. Not if you're taking the methylcobalamin or adenosylcobalamin. If you're taking cyanocobalamin, that's a form of B12 that the body doesn't recognize. If you're taking vitamin D2, that's a synthetic, non-digestible, non-usable, non-transferable form of vitamin D that does not help as much with the 25-hydroxy vitamin D form. I can tell, Laura, you're going to be fantastic, and I have no idea. I have no doubt you're actually going to be a great health coach and practitioner one day. I can tell you this, though. You're just at the beginning of the journey, and there's nothing wrong with that. I understood and thought all of these same exact things that you're thinking about. But you have to understand the difference between juicing and a functional medicine detox. You just need to figure out the difference between regular vitamins that they sell like CVS and Rite Aid and Walgreens and Costco and Target versus a functional medicine-based brand. That's the actual orthomolecular methylated version of them, the chelated-based minerals, such as a calcium, magnesium versus the carbonate forms. So there's just more to learn, and you're just on the beginning of the journey, and you're doing great. So again, you have to understand that there's no one study. You can pick out a one study and prove anything, but there's so much research and so many studies out there of how we can help people heal, not just with nutritional supplements. Remember, I have the de-stress protocol. So if you haven't read my book, The Rain Barrel Effect, yet, that might be a good place to start as well. And only 1 out of the 8 ways that I help people is with nutritional supplements. So it's only 1 of the 8. Hopefully that gets you started. And, again, I hope that you don't take that as any disrespect or offense. It's just in the beginning, we look at everything almost as black and white. And then as you've been doing this for many years and have many thousands of hours in it, you understand that everything is a gray area and you need to know who to recommend to what. All right. Catherine's up next. Hi there. I'm from Ontario, Canada, and I was wondering if there's an ND over here you may recommend. I have benefits through my work and would like to cover my appointments and wondering if Dr. Cabral would recommend someone over here. All right. So let us see if we can get you someone over in Canada. That's a great question. I want you to actually email. So we don't have recommendations all over the country, all over the world, in Canada as well. We're going to be recommending, of course, the people that we train in our practice that are going to be integrative health practitioners. But why don't you email support@stephencabral.com and say, I'm looking for an ND in Canada, and we'll at least try to give some type of resource to you there. But again, we work with people in Canada all the time, but you're right, it's not covered by health insurance. We ship labs there, but again, they're not covered by that. Okay. I'm not even sure the labs will be in Canada as well, but you can work that out with your practitioner there. Meg's up next. Hi, Stephen. Being located in Australia, I don't have easy access to wild salmon, and all the Australian salmon is farmed. Therefore, I want your advice in regards to the best salmon choices. You recommend consuming wild canned salmon over fresh farm salmon. Is tinned salmon equally as nutritional? That's a great question. Yeah, so this is one of those times where it's like, hey, we're in the real world. We're not just thinking about this in black and white, kind of like what I talked about before. So again, I have 2 young girls. We just celebrated Halloween. I live in the real world. And I was telling people ask me all the time, what do you do with your girls with Halloween when they get all this candy? Well, of course, we take them out trick-or-treating and they fill up those bags to the very top and they love it. They have such a great time. But when they get home, they know, because this is what they've done since they were 1 year old, right? Well, we didn't give them anything at 1 year old. But what we did, we said, okay, we bought some healthier choice candy, which is more organic, no paint dyes, no anything like that. And we say, if you want, you can have some of this, or you can have up to 2 pieces of whatever you got in your bag. That's it. So they might get 50 pieces each, and they get to pick out 2. They might complain about it. They might say this, they might say that, but they know the deal, and that's just the way that it is. And then the fun thing is this. I say, listen, you girls got all this great candy from everyone. They were giving it to you. Why don't we do this? Let's go sit outside and let's go give it to some other kids as well. And we actually give it away. And so that's what we do. So we can't keep it in the house. If you keep candy in the house, they're going to eat some every day. They're going to lower their immune system. And again, there's a real good correlation with weakened immunity and the flu and all these other things, right? As kids getting sick, because as we eat a lot of sugar, it actually suppresses our secretory IgA. And again, you're welcome to look that up on Dr. Google as well. So check that out. And that's because it dysregulates the blood sugar. So it can go high blood sugar, it can go hypoglycemia, it can turn on the autonomic nervous system, the HPA axis, which can suppress secretory IgA. Okay, so yes, best relative choice. I don't know how I got on that type of a tangent, but I would actually always go for canned wild salmon over farmed salmon. And the reason is farmed salmon is very high in inflammatory fats, much more so than wild salmon, which is high in anti-inflammatory fats. So that's my recommendation for sure. Would I love for the cans to be BPA free? Absolutely. Would I even think it'd be great to do maybe some canned sardines in olive oil, which is going to create probably less breakdown of that tin can as well? Sure. But again, we're making best relative choice. And if you want to eat salmon, I would absolutely go with the wild over the farmed for sure, because farmed salmon, a lot of it's GMO now as well. It's fed soy, it's fed corn, it's fed pharmaceuticals. It's not a good thing to be eating. So, but again, you make your best relative choice, and you might decide, hey, I'm just not going to eat any salmon. Maybe I'm going to go with something I can get wild here. So again, best relative choice. Sounds like you're already well ahead of the game. Renee is up next. Hello, Dr. Rawl. My mom was diagnosed with a hemolytic anemia, or just with hemolytic anemia, a couple of years ago, and has been taking pharmaceutical medication daily to manage this. We believe there must be a way to find the root cause, but not sure what it is. Symptoms are also underactive thyroid, osteoarthritis, which means basically a breaking down of the bones, IBS, which means irritable bowel syndrome, foggy brain, which we refer to as brain fog, and really bad memory loss. She's only 62. She's tried to improve a lot of things. Okay. So again, everybody can read the full question at stephencabral.com/podcasts, or today, stephencabral.com/1003. So she said, is there something I can do on my path? I gave her a copy of your book. I wrote to your team, and they recommended the hair tissue mineral analysis and organic acids test. Thank your team. However, given this is not a common autoimmune condition, I wanted to make sure there were any other recommendations you would make. Huge gratitude for your work. Warmest regards, Renee. All right, Renee, thanks for writing in. Happy to answer this question for you. So here's the thing as well. You can get, when you do a lab review, if you're a personalized, if you're a private wellness client of ours, you can actually add your blood work to the labs that you run through us, and that's totally fine. I do agree with what my team said. Let's look at heavy metals through a hair tissue mineral analysis. Let's look at an organic acids test to look at the gut and also these B vitamins. I just want to talk about in general with anemia, red blood cell, oxygenation. I want to think about this from a macro standpoint. Here's what we know that we need. And I know that hemolytic anemia is a little different. So I want to go over this, though. Think of it this way. 2 parts. Okay. Oxygenation requires good amount of iron, B vitamins, specifically folic acid, B6, and B12. We know that we need zinc, copper, magnesium to make all of this happen. Okay, so we know that in vitamin C, if I didn't name that. So we need all of those, all right, for oxygenation for the body and to get the oxygen into those red blood cells. So we need all of those, right? The B12, the copper, the B6, the folate, the magnesium, the zinc, the copper. I mentioned that twice now. So all of that's important. Okay, so we need to make sure we're getting enough of that. We can read that on a hair tissue mineral analysis and an organic acids test. So my team is correct. And again, if my team doesn't always, if they don't have the answer for you, then they ask me. So I give you the same recommendation, right? Because I give you that. And it just comes through my team. Now, the other thing we want to look at with an autoimmune-based condition is we want to look at the gut. And that's why they gave you the organic acids test to run. If your mom has some type of intestinal permeability or an overgrowth of the 4 that I always talk about, the H. pylori, candida, parasites, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, we need to remove those first. We need to seal up the gut wall because right now, it seems like your mom with the IBS, the brain fog, the bad memory, the osteoarthritis, the underactive thyroid is missing a lot of nutrients. So, I mean, if lab testing is out of your reach in terms of finances, let's just start her right away on at least the Dr. Ball Daily Protocol, or at least the daily nutritional support and the daily fruit and vegetable blends. You know, I can't recommend that enough. Of course, I'd recommend a Dr. Ball detox always to start things off, as long as it's not contraindicated by any of the medications you're taking. But that's the starting point. Let's get these labs. Let's see what's going on. I mean, I would love her to run the whole Dr. Ball Big 5 because there's so much going on. But if you can just afford 2 at this moment, totally understand. The starter package or the starter kit is the HTMA, that's the hair tissue mineral analysis, and the organic acids test. We'll look for those heavy metals. We'll see if that could be a reason for tissue destruction, red blood cell destruction, and we're happy to help. But we just need a little bit of data, and then we're able to help people and personalize that plan to the best ability that we can. So Renee, hopefully that was helpful. Julie's up next. Do you have any protocols to address nighttime bedwetting in children? I've read there are many imbalances that can cause this. My pediatrician said it's normal for boys and they may outgrow it. He's 6 years old. I have 3 children. 2 no longer had nighttime issues, once potty trained, and do not have to be taught to make it through the night. Thank you. Okay, so Julie, I'll just let you know that sometimes it's what they have before bed. So like, let's say they're having a new food or like an apple or anything like that. These foods could actually trigger them having to release that fructose or whatever it might be. It's always a possibility. Let's say they're eating one of their favorite foods or candies and it has a little bit of food dye. That could cause an issue with the nervous system. But there's a lot of research on this. And right now I can tell you, and I've done quite a bit of it, zinc, omega-3s, and making sure that they just get all of their vitamins in general is extremely important. The biggest game changers that I've seen, because there's a lot of research behind them, have been zinc, they have been magnesium, and they have been omega-3s. So that's at least where I would start. The Brain Diet is a book and talks a little bit about omega-3s and bedwetting there. It's a conventional medicine doctor that wrote it, but obviously a lot of great insight. And of course, we love our medical doctors as well. We have nothing against them. And then we also want to just make sure we break that cycle as well, just because if it is a rhythm that he's gotten into. So that's where I would start. Of course, you could do more in-depth testing if you'd like to see if there's a copper toxicity issue. You could run a hair tissue mineral analysis, but we might want to just start with some of those omega-3s, making sure that he's eating very cleanly, no foods or drinks maybe right before bed. Definitely no water before bed. Just at least start with that. Make sure they obviously know that you're doing this. Urinate right before bed as well. All of those will be very, very helpful. All right. Let us know at cabralsupportgroup.com if you need any follow-up to that. Okay, last question of the day is from Brittany. Brittany is asking, what are GSE citrucidal drops? Reference from the cold sore notes on the podcast. Mix them with apple cider vinegar and cayenne pepper. Okay, so we use citrucidal drops if we find anybody on the stool test with bacterial overgrowth or on the organic acids test with Clostridium difficile overgrowth. We also use it as a natural antibiotic for our healthy urinary tract protocol and the Candida bacterial overgrowth protocol that I spoke about as well as an add-on. They are an extract from grapefruit seed extract. That's what it is, from grapefruit. Citrucidal is the extract from grapefruit seed extract. So grapefruit seed extract is not the same as citrucidal. Citrucidal is an extract from grapefruit seed extract. It is one of the most powerful natural antibiotics in the world. Yes, it is an extract, so technically it's no longer the grapefruit seed extract. 23 clinical studies killing bacteria, 18 clinical studies killing fungus. A lot of research behind it, and again, I'm willing to do whatever I can to help people in the short term as I then eventually wean them off the majority of nutritional supplements. How long do we use the GSE drops? Well, not GSE drops. How long do we use the citrucidal drops in my practice? We use them for exactly 3 weeks. That's it. No more. 3 weeks. We have a ramping up protocol that you get if you need them, and you only know if you need them by running an organic acids test and or a stool test to look for bacterial overgrowth. Hopefully that was helpful, Brittany. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. Always a pleasure to be able to answer your questions. And what I'd like to do right now is do make sure that if any of these topics were new to you, that you just head on over to cabralsupportgroup.com. You can ask questions there Monday through Friday. We offer answers to your questions. We're happy to do that as a service to you, as a place to get started. And then also, you can go to stephencabral.com/podcasts and simply type in the keyword you're looking for, such as citrucidal, or such as parasite, or such as lectin. You can type those things in and you'll find answers to those questions on previous podcasts. Thanks so much for tuning in. Always a pleasure. I'll talk with you tomorrow on our Mindset and Motivation Monday. Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life. And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my Health Results Accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to stephencabral.com/courses.